Do you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed or like your stress levels are just too high? If so, you're in the right place. Today's episode is all about providing practical strategies to help nurses manage stress more effectively. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Journal of Pediatric Surgical Nursing podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Terry Clark. As a nurse with nearly 30 years of experience, I'm thrilled to be a part of this exciting new venture. To kick things off, I'm honored to welcome our very first guest, Chelsea Reynolds. Chelsea is the Senior Project Advisor at Children's Medical Center in Dallas, Texas. And she recently published an editorial in the Journal of Pediatric Surgical Nursing entitled Decreasing Perceived Stress Levels in Pediatric Surgical Nurses. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you so much for having me today, Dr.
Yes,
Clark.
we're so glad to have you. I'm hearing that this is one of the most downloaded editorials so far, so I think people are really interested in this topic. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
We're grateful to have you. So we'll dive in with a few questions. Your article focuses on an incredibly important topic. What inspired you to write about managing stress in pediatric surgical nursing?
Yeah, so like everybody in 2020, I was really feeling a lot of the stress of just the profession and of the world in general, with COVID just really exacerbating that. And really at the tail end of 2020, I started evaluating my own stress levels and my own maybe lack of boundaries that I had at work, and really started to do a deep dive on myself and trying to promote a better well-being within myself as a nurse and as a clinical manager. And so I really went on my own journey of finding this more peaceful place to work and to live in. And as I came kind of out of my gloom, I would like to say, I recognized that everybody else was also feeling this same way. So as I was coming out of it, I really noticed that all of the nurses that I was leading, including the team leaders that were on the unit, the nurses, even our patient care techs and our health unit coordinators, everybody was feeling really down. And everybody was feeling this just really heavy weight of stress that was going on. And I think, again, COVID just really exacerbated that. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking at how can I help them? So what has helped me find some stress relief, and how can I help the staff not feel this burden, and how can I give them a little bit of reprieve during their 12-hour shift? You know, nurses work so hard, and we see a lot of really tragic things, but also a lot of very happy things. But even seeing the happy things, it's stressful. It's a stressful job, and I just wanted to be able to give back to the nursing staff and help create a place that they could just potentially have an improved shift and find a little stress relief during their day.
No, I think it's very needed. I've been teaching undergraduate nursing for about 17 years, and I'm just hearing more and more about burnout and compassion fatigue and all the things. So I think it's very, very timely and very needed. So can you share some of your key findings from your research?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things that I found is that it doesn't have to be this really complicated, expensive solution to provide the staff stress relief. So I read a lot of articles, even just taking a pause, like a forced pause during the day when something stressful happens. And it didn't necessarily have to be a room. It could be a stress relief box that you could go to and maybe get something out of like a stress ball or a coloring page. But what I found is also that the room doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to provide that many options. Most people just want to take a break, an uninterrupted break. And I think that's the key piece is that uninterrupted break, because oftentimes as nurses, right? We are very protective of our patients, and we are hard pressed to maybe hand over our phone or let people help us, because we want to be the ones taking care of our patients. And so that was really the piece, is that uninterrupted break, to be able to disconnect and to take a few minutes to yourself and not be answering the phone or the pager or approving an order or hearing the medication like ding in your Care Mobile device. That's what we have, or the alarms dinging going off at the nurse's station. That it is truly a very peaceful break. And so I think that was the most fascinating thing, was that it's not a complicated thing to create for people. We just don't always tend to think about it, and we don't tend to follow through with a place for staff to go.
So, and you may be going to mention this later. So am I hearing you say that maybe provide like a box with some activities that people could do? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So, and this is actually something that I found in my own journey of self-care, was just creating a stress relief box of things that like make you happy. So it could be like a stress ball, or it could be a coloring page, or it could be like essential oils, right? If you like that lavender smell, it could be tea. So it's almost like a little box of favorite things that you can create. And it is just a reminder, like go to the box, open it and see, grab something out of it that makes you happy, or can give you a couple of minutes of reprieve.
Right. That's awesome and simple.
Mm-hmm.
What other practical tips can nurses use to reduce stress in their daily practice?
So I think the biggest thing is having, the biggest thing is knowing yourself and knowing when you are at that point that you need a break before you hit the breaking point, if that makes sense. So I think I was a bedside nurse for multiple years, and that took some time to realize, wait, let's pause a second. I'm really overwhelmed with what's going on the unit right now, and how can I help myself? Can I ask for help from the charge nurse? Can I ask help from a friend? Maybe my patient, maybe my kid needs a sitter, like a volunteer to come play with them, because maybe I'm spending all my time, trying to occupy this child that maybe family is at work that day. And it's recognizing those signs before you hit the breaking point, and then you're having a moment, and it's much harder to recover once you have that moment than if you maybe take the hour before, say, oh man, I really need to go for a walk for a few minutes, and separate myself from the situation. I think it's much easier to recover when you do it early on than if you've already had that kind of moment, that breakdown, that meltdown. You're already kind of at level 100. It's much harder to recover from that for the rest of the day if you haven't recognized those signs that's coming already.
Right. I teach a lot about work-life balance, and one thing that I always talk about is, I think for a long time we thought being busy and stressed out was like a badge of honor. It made you look like you were a harder worker or something. But I think like trying to shift away from like, let's have badges of honor that say we take care of ourselves and we manage our stress, and because we can be there for people more when we're doing that. So I think it's great.
I wholeheartally agree with that. I felt like as my journey of self-care and work-life harmony and balance was better or had improved, I became a much better manager to the staff. I can see in my own like professional development how really that was a huge 180, how I led. I'm grateful for that, because I do think we wear a badge of honor for being busy. But I was so much more empathetic with the staff and more understanding. And I felt like the staff respected me more when I was like, I'm taking a week of PTO to go be with my son, and I'm not answering emails, and I have people in place to do this for me when I'm not here. And I trust them to do that. And I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that I became a much better leader, and really saw a huge shift in my career at that point.
No, that's an excellent point, because we've all had leaders that are just reactive, and that's not fun to work for, and you don't want to be that kind of leader. So
No.
So how do you hope your work will impact and inspire others? We've mentioned some, but did you have anything else?
Yes. So I really just hope that people see that, one, it doesn't have to be a complicated or expensive solution. I think I'm most excited. So the project I'm currently working on is a new hospital build. And in the work that has been put in, there's now several, we call them quiet rooms or stress relief rooms. And I think the most exciting thing is now every single unit is going to have this quiet room. It's been programmed. And so that's just a huge culture change for us, where we have, one or two, and sometimes they're coupled as like a lactation room, or they're a supply closet or something like that. Now we are going to have a dedicated room on every single inpatient unit. And that is a huge deal. It really, I think, shows the organization's value in the staff, and that they do care about our staff and providing that space for them. And I just think it's exciting to be able to see that, like, my one room that I did, I'm now getting to make a huge impact on the design of our hospital and making sure that those rooms have those things that we need in there. And so I'm super honored that I've gotten to be a part of that and make an impact on our future as an organization.
It's interesting that you say that. I was actually just part of a qualitative study this past few weeks and with nursing students, and several of them mentioned they wish they had a quiet place at school to go, not just the library, but so this might be something that could be implemented in education too.
So that was a little bit of the idea. Also I had a nursing student with me that summer, and her nursing school created a wellness center.
Okay.
And she showed me all the pictures and what they did, and a lot of the ideas came from something I learned from the nursing student. And she gave me kind of the down low on what they felt like worked best.
Awesome.
I think it's definitely coming in the education world as well.
Awesome. So are there any other final words or key takeaways that you'd like listeners to remember?
I think just, as nurses, we do such a great job of taking care of everybody else. That's our job, and that's our passion. But I think it's also, I hope people remember that it's okay to take care of yourself as well, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and you really have to invest in yourself as a human and invest in yourself as a nurse. And I really think that will make a huge impact and will keep you coming back every day and making an impact on our patients and families.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your valuable insights. I know it's going to make a real difference, and sounds like something that people will start to implement. So it's exciting. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of the Journal of Pediatric Surgical Nursing podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this episode with friends and colleagues, and share it on social media. You can find links to Chelsea Reynolds' article about managing stress in nursing below, and also links to the journal in the show notes. We appreciate your support as we continue to promote excellence in nursing. Until next time, I'm Dr. Clark, wishing you peace and health.